Hello and welcome to another episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers. In this episode I shall be doing a makeover on this Mark 10 Jaguar. It's the Matchbox 28c that came out in 1964, which is 2 years after I was born. So as you can see, like a lot of these cars of that age, all of the paint, or the majority of the paint of this one is missing. It's been scuffed off with grubby little fingers and being thrown around in the sandpit, I guess. The windscreen also is heavily scoured, dirty, and has some grime on it that I'm not too sure what it is. Ordinarily it would be paint, but there is no paint on this car really. So it must be something else, like oil or grease or something. Not too many variants on this one. What you see is what you get basically. The only difference could be the trim, the silver trim on the front and on the back bumper. Other than that, they all came in the same colour or shades of the similar colour with the black metal base. So having a close up here, good news. Well, there you can see first up it is a number 28. But this one here has the tail, the hitch on the back there, the tail hook, tow hook intact, which is great news for me. Also, the person that sent it has already drilled out the rivets underneath, which is a bit odd. It's a first for me. So I think it's a first for me anyway. Now here's something that's pretty cool. See that? The bonnet opens and shuts and opens again. And it reveals this remarkably detailed engine compartment with like 3 carburetors, if I'm right, and 6 outlets on the exhaust manifold. So it must be a 6-cylinder engine. I looked at this and I saw how the bonnet hinged up and the headlights and the grille disappeared underneath the car, and I thought that can't be right surely. But in fact it is true, and I looked online and there are pictures of cars of these Jaguars with the bonnet up, and sure enough the radiator tilts forward. So anyway, this particular model featured in the Matchbox Collector's Catalogue that came out in 1968. And I'm very grateful to a person called Lewis Wessel from Wisconsin in the US. So thank you, Lewis. He sent me 10 catalogs. There's the model there that we're doing today. The Mark 10 Jaguar, 70mm long, look. And that little L shape there means that it comes equipped with a tow hook. So you can see there's a number of cars there. The Opel Diplomat, for example, at the top, that has a tow hook also. I think I might have done one of those. Haven't done the cattle truck. Must do one of those and get some plastic reproduction cattle to go in the back of it. That would be good. Oh, look. A few here you might recognise. Especially if you're an avid Matchbox collector. That bus there, I've got one of those, but all the roof's wrecked. I don't know how to fix it. So whoever this book belonged to, they didn't fill it out properly. They just ticked probably the ones they wanted, or maybe the ones that they had. And at the back of the book is some more information about larger toys that you can buy from Matchbox to enjoy with your Matchbox car collection. There's petrol stations and various track sets. And then towards the back there's a section on king size. Is this bringing back any memories for anyone? Please let me know in the comments if you're pausing the video to check out these pictures and the information. Look at that one. The price is $2 for the Combine Harvester king size. That's pretty good. Probably worth $100 now. Ready mix concrete truck. I don't know why I'm pointing at that one. I think I just like it. Oh, the Dodge truck there, the king size. I did one of those. That's in the cabinet. That was a big job. And at the back, models of yesteryear. Just keeps going. This is a fantastic colour catalogue, which would have cost Matchbox a lot to produce and circulate, I'm sure. I wonder how much it contributed to their success. that kids could look at these and dream over what they wanted. Dream and drool over what they wanted. There's a little section at the back there too, some educational information there about how zinc's produced and the plastic injection process for making of the wheels and the tyres. It's packed full of information. And look at those gifts. Those would be beautiful collector's items. I've got one of the coin trays. I called it an ashtray, but I think it's a coin tray. Similar to that one there with the Rolls Royce sitting on it. And there's the rear cover. So the 1968 Matchbox catalogue. That's where this model was featured. So now, getting back to it now. As I said before, the differences are in the trims. So those bumpers bars and the headlights are silver on some and not on the others. And some of them have the back and the front bumper bars silvered. And some of them none at all. Depends whether the model was made on a Friday afternoon or not. So as I said, I haven't had to drill out that rivet post. Somebody has done it for me, which is good, sort of speeds things up a little bit. Although having said that, this little model took me 12 hours to get it right. But there you go. You can't win them all. I'm just trying to get this little suspension piece out. This is the thing that gives the suspension action on the front and rear wheels. It's kind of like a spring, but it's made of plastic. And they're notorious for bending and losing their springiness, as this one has. See how it's curved upwards? Ideally it wants to be flat or curved slightly downwards. So I'll have a go at that later on in the video. Try and straighten that out. Oh ho! This person has really done me a favour. They've drilled out the rivet for the windscreen also. So that just fell out, and they did a good job on that. There's no damage to the transparency at all. Bit of grime on it, you can see. There's a little good feature of this model. Gives it a bit of play value, you know, especially with the garage sets. You could have it parked in the garage with the bonnet up or something. And there you can see how that's pivoted. Now, I was going to take the bonnet off to paint it, but looking at how that's crimped into position there, I fear that there's no way I could take that off without damaging the retention little finger there. So I'm going to hope that looking at it, I don't know how they would have put those together. So I'm going to hope I can paint it with it in situ. And it shouldn't really be an issue. The only bit that would get the paint rubbed off would be the pivot pin, I'm guessing. Now when I looked underneath, I could see these rather shoddy looking wear points is what I thought they were, or corrosion. I thought it had corroded and was showing its age. But on closer inspection, when I turned it over and looked into the engine compartment, I could see that those holes, although they're not finely formed, they're actually intentional to give you the impression of looking through the engine onto the road like you would in a real car. Well, the old cars, that is. These days you can't get a feeler gauge in there. But yeah, so they're intentional, even though they look a little bit rough. First up, I noticed that these axles, traditionally, it's my belief that the domed-headed ends from the factory are on one side, and the ones that are formed when it's being assembled are on the other side. Now, it could be that the operator that was forming these axles just had their own system where they rotated the base 180 degrees. So the only thing the person didn't do that donated it was take the wheels off, so I'm doing that now. That way I can paint strip the model without damaging the tyres and repaint it. This is a step that sometimes I forget and I kick myself every time I do. But at this stage, before it's repainted, I like to drill out the hole and tap the hole with a thread cutter so that when it goes back together it's So not easy just to put a button-headed screw in there and tighten the base on. If you don't do it at this stage, I found, especially with my skin characteristics, that the model will be left with a lot of fingerprints if I do this after I've painted it. So I always do it now, sooner rather than later. I have seen better days. I have seen better thread cutting than that. Looking at it a bit ordinary, I think I'm up for a new thread cutter. It does accept the screw, and the screw goes in and is tight, but I'm not happy with the standard of that thread, so I think I shall splash out and buy myself a new tap. These are the screws that I use. In case anybody wants to look them up on eBay, you can buy them in a pack of 100 for about 20 bucks, I think. And I've had these for years now. So I'm going to get the paint off, so I think it's time for the paint stripping. Nope. So I'm looking at the colour of the paint and I'm thinking it's rather unusual, and I'm not going to get that out of a pot. So I'm going to have to make my own. I'm not too sure what I've got in the supplies here, but I'm thinking the brass and the silver look good. And this SMS range here that I haven't really used much. And in fact, I don't even know what colours I've got there, but I pick through them and I find a couple that I think might work if I mix them together to make that funny sort of metallic, dull brown, goldy brown colour. So just setting myself up there, and I've found my old little paint stirrer. I thought I'd get it out and give that a whirl. So this was my first idea. Tamiya paints, 2 metallic ones, silver and brass, I think it is, or copper. And this is my backup if it doesn't work. Other than that, I've got no ideas. So I'm really a bit in the dark here as to whether or not I'm going to pull this off, or whether I'm going to have to wait till after the weekend and try and get some paint made up somewhere, or buy some more different paint to mix up. But let's see how I go. So I'm just winging it, which is usually what I do. Oh, God, this stuff's pre-thinned and comes out pretty quick. That's one good thing about it, the SMS paint. I don't need to add any thinners to it. So I'm using I've got my supplies there to use, and I've got the third pot into which I'm going to do the mixing. First attempts, that colour made no difference whatsoever, so put a bit of a heavy splash in there. It's starting to go sort of a titanium colour, I guess. Not gold or silver, but somewhere in between. It's not quite right though. The one on the model looks like it's pink champagne, kind of got a bit of a pink to it. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll try these ones, see if I can get something better. I'm not happy with the one I just made, and I'm not happy at all now. As I open these up, I check, and they've all dried out, and they're as chunky as anything, and there's not a lot of it either. So I just try and thin it and put the paint stirrer in there to try and whip it up, because to stir it would take half an hour. And to my surprise, it kind of went a little bit fluid. Could be better. So I thought, right, I know how to add this, and this was the same. This was all chunky as well. and hardly any of the brass or the bronze or the copper, whatever it is, copper. And look at that, when I tipped it up after I'd thinned it, this is what came out. And there's no way in hell that's going through my spray gun, so I'm rather somewhat disappointed. So I'm using some Humbrol enamels paint now that I've forgotten I had, and I haven't used it since I made my last plastic model kit. And that didn't work either. So I take the original SMS, I figure I've got nothing to lose here. And I add some of the honey gold. At least it's mixing and stirring up well. Colour doesn't seem to be changing much though, and I'm getting a little bit desperate here. After I leave it for a short while, I come back and I notice that it's settling in layers. And I'm thinking that can't be good. They should all be compatible and the same viscosity and density you would think, and they'd all stay mixed together. Anyway, I'm going to give it a go anyway. So first up, I'll just give a light undercoat of the Tamiya Fine Primer. And that looks good. That spurs me on. It gives me a feeling of glee to look at that and think, wow, I'm moving forward, as they say. Not only that, when it's dry, you can have a look at it and see all this detail that's cast into the model, somewhat crudely, I must say, but then again, it was, when was it, 1964? So going back a few years, maybe the technology wasn't as good as it is today. Maybe they made 1 million of these cars and the dies were worn out. But yeah, they're a little bit rough around the edges. But no one would care. This bonnet's rather stiff to open. I wouldn't have thought that was as a result of the primer, but you never know. Anyway, the engine looks really ordinary, actually. It's I know they've made an attempt to make it look realistic, but I've seen better. But then again, as I say, the technology of the day is probably limited to the amount of detail they could include. So I'm back on the SMS brand recipe here. The rose gold, the silver, and all the other stuff I put in there. And this is the next day actually, and I've been stewing about it all night, and I'm thinking this ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work, and I'm gonna be disappointed, and I'm gonna have to wait till after the weekend to get some paint to get this model done. I'm almost 100% it's gonna fail. That is my thoughts at this stage. But I'm going for it anyway. I'm going on really lightly first, a real light coating. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, actually, this paint is flowing quite well out of the nozzle of my air gun. So I sort of take it up a notch and put a medium heavy coat on. And I can tell you what, I am absolutely gobsmacked. I am that amazed. I stopped what I was doing and I rang my wife, who was out visiting a relative. And I said, you know, I didn't think that was going to work. Well, I was wrong. It's worked, and it's worked a treat. So thank you, SMS Paints. You've saved the day and saved my bacon. Anyway, I'm getting a bit peckish here, so I've made myself some cheese and tomato cruscets just to recharge my batteries and give me fuel to continue the journey of the restoration of this vehicle. Time to polish the windscreen using this polishing paste. It's meant for metal, I think. Seems to work okay for plastic. I know there's better stuff out there, I just haven't got around to buying it. It's not on my priority list. When I go shopping, I usually go for beer and microwave meals or something. So every time I'm out I forget. But, yeah, I should get some plastic polish. These old windscreens, I find it very difficult to bring them up so they look perfect. I know some people spend hours on it with, 3000 grit wet and dry paper. I mean, I've done it myself in the past and had some good results. Some you win, some you lose. It's like everything, really. I give the wheels a bit of a clean, get all that gunk out of the groove. Give them some black wash there to make them look new. Buzz the axles in some emery paper. They come up good. I've resprayed the base and I'm just having a look to see if the axles are going to go back on again. Didn't realise one axle is wider than the other. It's because of the design of the chassis. The gap in the middle is smaller on one end and bigger on the other. Didn't notice at first, and I actually did what you do. I put the wrong one in and I had to take it out again. Today I'm forming the end of the axle with a ball peen hammer, and I'm resting it in a bolt with a hole drilled in it as a sort of a cup, a retaining cup, to stop it slipping out of the vise when I'm whacking it. Seemed to do a good job. I'm going to put the windscreen in with just a little tiny blob of silicone. One day someone might want to pull it out and give it a bit of a polish, make it look a little bit better, or even put a brand new in, which would be lovely at the moment. If I had a brand new one, I would be putting it straight in, but I haven't. Don't even know if you can get them. I haven't looked. Might look later actually, if I have time. So the beauty of the small blob of silicone is that it doesn't damage anything, and it's possible to prise the windscreen out if you do get a new one in the future. Yeah, windscreen's quite pitted actually. I've seen better. Quite a quick makeover really, you'd think. But nothing's quick in this game. Now I'm putting it back together now. It's coming together nicely. Well, that seems a bit fiddly. It has to be very fussy, the orientation of that, else it won't go in. The little green plastic suspension piece. Having a go at straightening that with some hot water. I'm just putting the kettle on to boil. And dunking it in so it goes a little bit softer. The theory is that you make it a bridge over a matchstick, or in this case I'm using a drill. You push the ends down, and the theory is that it bends straight and should stay there. And I'm optimistic and thinking this will be great, and I'm not actually sure. I think there might be 5% increase in the suspension there. And I'm not game to keep going with it in case I snap it. I have snapped a few of these in the past. So I think, well, it might be better, it might not. Actually, it probably wasn't that bad in the first place. So re-securing the base with the button-headed screw. They look great. Love it when they're colour matched like that. Similar to the rivet that came out. Would have been colour matched to the body. Now I just got to do some delicate little touch-ups on the front here with the detailing of the radiator grille and the lights on the front there. There's a whole lot of them. I bet you could see a cat at 1,000 yards with those headlights. So anyway, here we have the Mark 10 Jaguar. Once again, simple little motor, but one that I haven't got. I need it to go into the shelf, of course, onto the shelf, of course, to try to get to one of each model. May not be the best in the display cabinet, but I give it my best shot. One day I might replace the windscreen and make it that little bit better. So anyway, here's a little secret that I'll let you in on. I was actually doing 2 of these at the same time. So just to clarify, I've restored 2 of these vehicles, and you could be in the draw to win one. What you have to do is watch the video and try and find 2 hidden words. Those 2 hidden words, when joined together, make a longer word. When you make a comment on the video, include that longer word in your comment, and that will ensure that you will go in the draw to win the model. I'll be doing a midweek video to pick a winner, and I shall be using the YouTube random comment picker to search the comments and filter out those that don't include the passphrase. So good luck to everyone, and it should be fun. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Marty's Matchbox Makeovers, and if you have, please like, share and subscribe, and recommend to your friends. All in all, I think it turned out not bad, and you know what? I'm happy with that. Until next time, this is Marty saying goodbye.